Asians were being attacked on the street for months, and the media essentially said nothing about it. The left did nothing about it until a white person killed some Asians, and all of a sudden it became politically expedient for them to launch this huge hashtag Stop Asian Hate campaign, framing it as this white supremacy problem. Asians, the woke left, are not your friends.
Hey yo, what's up you guys? So I'm coming here with another video in my MVRCK series, making videos really controversial kinda, and today we are talking about hashtag Stop the Asian Hate. Let's get into it. But first, of course, if you're new to my channel, what is up? My name is Mitch, Maverick Mitch. Hey Mitch, all the Mitches, and pretty much I like talking about what I talk about. So, current events, reviews, and pop culture within the scope of entertainment, culture, and purpose. So, TV, movie reviews, social below, commentary. Be sure to check out all those videos as you're finishing this video. So getting into the meat of things, I actually haven't talked about this on this topic, more so just because I wanted to get the information, right? A lot of people, especially during 2020, was kind of putting this because, you know, President Trump talked about the Wuhan virus and people pinned it towards, you know, hate crimes and all this stuff. And obviously leaning towards the Atlanta shooting, now more people are even talking about it even more, but like when it comes to the Asian Dawn, there is has been a documented of people who are committing these hate crimes, and it's not who the left thinks it is type of thing. I actually want to do other videos talk about it. The Korean conservative, the Korean Christian conservative talks about it. Vince Dow talks about it, and so this video is going into Chen. So I'm doing a reaction video of her talking about this and seeing where it goes into and everything. Also, quick on my thoughts about this, though. When it comes to this hashtag Stop Asian Hate and all of this things like hate is not a virus and all this stuff, my initial gut feeling comes to like how BLM did the Black Square, or not really BLM, it's just the promoters of BLM. So I feel like this Stop the Asian Hate is an empty platitude, right? Or people are weaponizing it to fit their causes. So that's why I was really hesitant to talk about this, just because again a lot of people are using it to go for their agenda, and to me, like, while I agree we should stop Asian hate, also it feels like it sounds like a liberal. It feels like but when it comes across to me, what it conveys to me is like thoughts and prayers. When the left attacks the right about using thoughts and prayers and not doing anything about it, I kind of want to use this Stop the Asian Hate at to counterpoint on the left, as though Stop Asian Hate is anything. I've seen some protests, that's cool, but when it comes down to it, I think we should protect the vulnerable, right? And then arm ourselves. Rooftop Koreans, obviously, like, we want to take care of the vulnerable, but also I think the better way to go about this is going into like GoFundMe, helping protect the people who have been victimized. I think those are good, rather just saying like on a blanket statement like Stop the Asian Hate type thing. And so I still need to formulate my thoughts about this, but again, that's where I lean initially, that, you know, all of this Stop the Asian Hate is just more or less kind of like empty platitudes type thing. So not that I don't agree with the sentiment, it's just that I just feel like people are just using it to virtue signal.
As some of you probably know by now, I am half Chinese, and in addition to being Asian racially, I am also Asian culturally, in that until I was a preteen, I lived in Hong Kong, where my dad is from. And the left nowadays has this whole idea that you cannot comment about an issue that affects a community unless you yourself are part of that community. Now, I personally think that's BS, and that anyone should be able to talk about whatever they want, but still, considering all of my Asian qualifications, I would like to see them try to dismiss me here. Which, I mean, they're still going to, but I at least think it's harder for them to do that. Now, as I was saying, there's recently been a huge uptick in assaults against Asian Americans, and despite what the left may try to tell you, no, this is not the fault of white supremacy. Want to know how I know that? Well, most of the attackers in these cases have actually been black. And now trying to blame white people for black people attacking Asian people is a level of mental gymnastics that honestly is only possible in 2021, because it seems like society has collectively lost their minds. And what's also
just quickly on that point, A Korean conservative has talked about this, other people have talked about this. When it comes to it, Tim Pool has talked about this. When it comes to the left's narrative and how they're using identity politics and how they're using critical race theory, Asians have privilege to the point where they are saying that Asians are white adjacent, that Asians are doing too well, that, you know, we have these things. And so we are propped up as privilege, but if we are attacked by the demographic that they want, aka the white people, if white people are talking about us, we are now the minorities, we are now the victims, we are now part of the POCs again, because we are being in that realm of what the narrative is. But when we are attacked by not other minorities, other Asians, black, Latinos, whatever, oh, no, you are people of privilege, you are not part of the POCs, you're white adjacent, you are upholding the white supremacy. And so, again, as Lauren was saying, mental gymnastics, let's continue.
Frustrating about this situation and the whole hashtag Stop Asian Hate campaign is that I have been speaking out against anti-Asian discrimination for years, but until it was politically convenient, it seems like not only did the left ignore this discrimination, they were actually enabling it. And here I am talking about affirmative action policies that blatantly and systemically discriminate against Asians in North America and in Europe. Did you know, and I'm guessing most of you do by now, that if you are Asian, it's actually harder to get into elite schools because Asians on average tend to do very well scholastically and academically. And so to prevent schools from being too Asian, as if that were a thing that non-racists would ever think, school admissions boards have actually made it harder to get into these schools if you are Asian. For example, if there were two students who were exactly the same, had the same grades and the same extracurricular activities, statistics show that if one was black and one was Asian, the black student would be way more likely to get into that school. And not only would the black student be more likely to get into that school with the same grades as the Asian, but even if the black student wasn't as successful academically, they would still be more likely to get into that school. Now, this is a huge problem in the Asian community. It's such a big problem that there's actually been lawsuits filed by Asians against these schools for discriminating against them, and yet the left has been silent about this forever, essentially. And not only have they been silent, but again, these policies, these affirmative action policies, have been their idea. They have been the ones who've been trying to promote this BS. And sure, the left now may be saying praises of the Asian community and trying to stand in solidarity with them, but if you look a little deeper into their ideology, you can see that no, the woke left is no friend of the Asian community.
Also, another point is, I really need to do a video on the Korean conservative, my friend, doing that and all this stuff. But anyway, he points out, like, and I agree, like, if we're talking about promoting Asians, right, why aren't there, like, enough more Asians on Hollywood? Why isn't there more Asians in the music industry? They are being gatekeeped by the people that are attacking us, right? And so, I mean, yeah, we got crazy rich Asians. So where's what's more? We have Minari, which was really stupid, by the way. I didn't like it, even though it was nominated for Oscar or whatever. I thought it was really boring. Anyway, and then we have Shang-Chi coming up as a Marvel hero, but that has yet to come out. So we'll see how all of this Stop the Asian Hate will play out when that movie comes out. But the point is, like, if we are trying to promote Asianness, whatever, you know, these people are not allowing Asian Americans to go on the TV. And then just real quick, where on all the medical dramas, where are the Filipino nurses? Like, come on, like, even if they don't have like a speaking role, they're just walk-on roles, whatever, there should be Filipino nurses on these shows. But okay, continue.
Recently, I posted online that the reason why Asians tend to succeed in so many countries, not just Western ones, is that their cultures tend to place a lot of value on family and education. Having grown up in an Asian household in Asia, I can tell you it was never a question of whether I would go to college. It was always just that is the expectation that I was going to meet. And I remember my father expressing disappointment in me, not in me, but in my grades when I would get anything below a 95. There was always this huge huge focus on succeeding academically because my parents knew, and I knew as a result of that, that would benefit me later on in life. And not only that, but as someone who grew up in Asia, I have to say I had never met a child whose parents were divorced or single until I moved back to North America, right? The huge explosion of single parent households that we see in the West, it just isn't comparable to anything that's going on in Asia or, as a matter of fact, actual Africa itself either. These are huge cultural differences that, yes, do affect the likelihood of people succeeding. I pointed this out online, and someone actually had the gall to say that it's not because Nigerians tend to value education and family that they're successful. No, it's actually because when they come over, white people just haven't had a chance yet to oppress them. And it's like, white people are not the root of all evil. Asian people are also not the root of all evil. For some reason now, among black people and Asian people, there's this competition to see who got discriminated against more. And that's something that's also brought up a lot when we talk about Asian success, is that, oh yeah, well, even though they got discriminated against, it still wasn't as bad or for as long as black Americans, therefore we can't even compare it. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, no. Asians weren't allowed to immigrate or become citizens up until shockingly recently. Couples that were Asian and white, like my parents, weren't allowed to marry again until shockingly recently. Technically, it was illegal for someone half Asian and half white like myself to even exist. So you don't get to dismiss Asian success by saying that Asians weren't discriminated against, because we were, and you don't get to say that it's based on white people just liking us better, because that's absolutely not the case. I've heard that Asians are just successful because of their proximity to whiteness, and it's like, are you trying to tell me that Indian Americans, who are one of the most successful groups, are seen as more white than black Americans? Is that honestly what you're trying to tell me? Asians were being attacked on the street for months, and the media essentially said nothing about it. The left did nothing about it until a white person killed some Asians, and all of a sudden it became politically expedient for them to launch this huge hashtag Stop Asian Hate campaign, framing it as this white supremacy problem. Asians, the woke left, are not your friends. I'm not saying you have to go full-on conservative, even though, obviously I think you do, but just understand that the left is perfectly okay with discriminating against you. They are perfectly okay with barring you or your children or your family members from getting into a good school because you are Asian. They love...
Can I just promote Asian AXIT? My friend, a Korean conservative, founded it. I obviously talked about it in my channel before. And so let's just say it, like, if you want to leave the Democratic Party, if you want to leave the woke left, and you don't have to vote necessarily right, you can vote libertarian, independent, whatever, but maybe you just want to question who is actually fighting for Asians, who is letting Asians actually succeed, rather than just using it as an empty platitude, as an empty virtual signal, as an empty way of just promoting themselves as, oh, I am so good type of thing. So continue.
To rail against how racist merit-based immigration is, even though that tends to favor Asians more. And to top it all off, when Asians do manage to get into good schools despite the literal barriers against them, what does the woke left do? Oh yeah, they dismiss Asian success as proximity to whiteness. Okay, no, do not fall for all of the hashtag campaigns and the platitude and the patronizing attitudes. The woke left is not...
I said that. We said that.
Against white people for years and years now, and trust me, Asians are next on the chopping block as soon as any political maneuvering from this current love fest is over. That's pretty much all I have to say for now, though, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out so much. Until next time.
So finishing thoughts, I think I am going to talk about this some more. I'm probably going to revert to Vince Dow, the Korean conservative, even the Korean Christian conservative, and other folks who are talking about this. It doesn't have to necessarily be Asian. I even know Matthew Christensen has been talking about this too. So I'll probably end up doing another video talking about this. It is very relevant at the moment. But Lauren Chen already mentioned a lot of things that I mentioned before in other videos and even in the beginning of this video. And so I think the last thing to point out in this video is just to keep watching everything, right? Obviously, we want to have a good sentiment for the Asian community in regards to everything that's going on, but I think it is wise to watch who is utilizing this, weaponizing this, and taking advantage of this for their whatever personal agenda, right? And so I think that's a wise thing to do in regards to everything that's going on, and then especially if you have friends who are hopping on into this bandwagon, which is, I get it, like sometimes people just don't look into these things, just probably start sending them information about like, hey, while I agree with you, how about checking into this things, you know? And so yeah, I'll just leave it there and then see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on my Instagram at HeyMitchMitch. You can follow me on my joint Instagram at It's Mandatory Fun, where I do other videos for my friend Jen. I'm also on Parler, Mitch, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace, peace, peace. Be with you.